Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show on this wonderful Monday, Schlegs.
Yeah, it's a
December
great
8th.
Monday.
It's the day that FDR talked about the previous day as a day that will live in infamy.
Yes.
So, losing a Big Ten championship to Indiana isn't
Hmm.
exactly a day that'll live in infamy, but it is a sad day among the Ohio State faithful. I think people believed that this was going to be an opportunity to win a national championship, and that's still out there. But there was an idea of maybe going undefeated, and the idea of winning the Big Ten championship, I think, is important to these guys as well. Hat and T-shirt game Schlegs matter,
Yep.
and those guys wanted to have a chance to go out there and win a Big Ten championship, man. And to lose it in the manner you did, losing to Indiana in Indianapolis on Saturday night, 13-10. That 13-10 score, Schlegs, there's a little bit of an ominous feel to that, given that was the Michigan score the year before. The game kind of felt a little bit like that, where you were not dominating, but in control of the game, but never really separating. Couldn't really get that 2-score lead. And you get some stops, and then all of a sudden, boom, they get a touchdown, and now all of a sudden you're down. And despite kind of having controlled most of the game, and then you couldn't make a field goal to save your life. And so all of those things kind of played into it. It was frustrating. It was disappointing. I don't think it was devastating by any stretch. There's nothing that I saw in that game that when I watched it, I looked and said, hey, there's a serious issue here that's going to prevent Ohio State from potentially winning a national championship. Like, that thought didn't enter my head at all. I thought, man, we're playing good. We just need to find a way to kind of kick the door in. Ran the ball pretty well. Could have run it better. Didn't protect particularly well. Defensively, did a pretty good job. Had some stops, maybe could have got one more at the end. You always start looking for the edges, but you think you hold a team to 13 points, Schlegs. That should be enough, especially in 2025, to be able to win a game. And so all those things in concert, surprising. Now, there was a lot of things that were surrounding that game leading into it. There's not excuses, but there are reasons. But there was a lot of things. And I don't want to throw the Heartline. The Heartline piece to USF is just one part of that. I don't even know if it's the main part. But the team looked pretty ready to go. But Indiana looked faster. And I think that's a function of Schlegs. They played Purdue the week before and beat them by 50 points, as opposed to having to play Michigan in an emotional, heartfelt contest. So there's a lot of stuff that went into it.
And they had a bye week before that.
They had a bye before that. Ohio State fans showed up in Indianapolis. There was more Indiana fans there than I'd ever seen in one place at one time, but I thought it was probably a 50-50 split. What did the crowd look like when you were hearing it, Schlegs, on the field, like in the game on television? What did that sound like? Did it sound like a fairly even crowd? It's hard when you're all wearing red.
Yeah, it's hard. It sounded like Indiana had, like when we were on offense, it sounded, and people in the chat can chime in, but it sounded like there was a large contingent of Indiana fans and maybe being a little bit louder. But I go back to this, Bob, and I'm going to stick with Ryan's script on this, that he's going to take it like a man and they're going to get better. And that's what this is. And it goes back to even the conversation of championship games, but it's a bigger point than that. It's every game does matter. As much as we get into college football expansion, all these different things, when you're playing good on good matchups as a player, just so everybody knows, always matters, especially one from a Big Ten title. So you have a team that has never, beaten Michigan. They beat Michigan, but they haven't won a Big Ten championship since 2019. And then now they're able to do that. I remember going back to that, Bob, when I first came to Ohio State in 2012, we couldn't compete for a Big Ten championship. Couldn't go to the national championship. Didn't win it that year. Lost, I believe, to Michigan State in the Big Ten championship in 13, and then we eventually won it in 14. So there's lots of factors. You did a great job um, on Big Play Cleveland, Bob, articulating all of the different things surrounding this. And I want you to articulate that to everybody. And then I just got a little side nugget.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you articulate, because it does matter, right? And I love your point of same score of Michigan last year, 13-10. We're going to get in the game breakdown, guys, because there were opportunities in that, just like there were in that Michigan game, when you could have like pulled away, changed a little bit about from what Indiana was wanting to do, right? By just executing certain things. And that's what Ryan's going to tell you. It's like you always regret it if it doesn't work. But you go back and you look at the little things. I even heard Cade McDonald talking about just the execution aspect. But talk about the week that transpired between the Michigan win and this game, Bob, that you articulated so well.
Well, thank you, Sykes. And so we'll do that. I'll do that. Before I do it, though, I want to kind of open up, for the show. We're going to break down the offense, we'll break down the defense. We'll talk about the prospects moving forward, who they can play, get into a little bit of the rankings, but save the national stuff tomorrow with Bill. But there's explanations and then there's excuses. Yep. And Ryan's not making excuses for any of this. Like, you didn't hear him come in there and talk about all the things that were going on, the positive, the negative, everything else that was with it. But obviously, you're coming off a game against Michigan, a very, very emotional game that you wanted to win. All of it, obviously, all the hoopla and everything that went after the game, that was all part of it. And you knew that was going to be part of it going in. So you win that game, you exhale, you're playing Indiana. National Signing Day is on Wednesday. And right before National Signing Day, you get the announcement that Brian Hartline, your head coach, is going, or your offensive coordinator is going to be going to UCF. And I'm sure Ryan had talked with him and everything, but that breaks right before. So people talked about that being a distraction. What? That's part of it. There's some stuff there, but like, Brian didn't go down to Florida before any of this. He's in Florida now after the game because they're really not doing anything at this moment. But that happens, Tuesday, it starts to break on Tuesday, and then Wednesday's National Signing Day. So for 90% of college football, it's fine. Your season's done. You're signing your recruits. You're handling all that. Well, for Indiana and Ohio State and Georgia and North Texas and Duke, like all the small percentage of teams, probably about 10%, maybe a little less, 8% of the teams that are playing in their conference championship games, they have to also do that while preparing for a game. Some of those teams, like, that's huge. Winning their conference is a big deal. That was going to stamp them a ticket. For Ohio State, give you the number one seed. And so while you have that, you're trying to get your class together. Now, with that, since you lost Brian Hartline, there's a little bit of craziness that's going on. You have the number one receiver in the country, one of the best players in all of the land, and Chris Henry Jr., who now isn't signing. What's going on? You're trying to figure all that out. You're dealing with his agent. Ryan, you're at practice. You're trying to get him. And I'm listening to people talk to me, Schlegs. And it came out Friday. He announced it Friday at 12:10 on McAfee. So we had already done our show. And the amount of people that were all concerned about Chris Henry, and I think I said on our show, Schlegs, let's not worry about championships 3, 4, and 5 that Chris Henry is going to bring us. Let's worry about getting championship number 2 with Ryan. Okay? Like, let's just lean in on that. I know we like to get real greedy and everybody just get all the best players and get all this. It's all good, but let's just focus on this. And if you don't get Chris Henry, it's not the end of the world. We ends up committing, but the whole saga of that takes a toll on you. Like, those are minutes. Time is perishable. And everyone's like, oh, you got a week to prepare for a game. It's not that much. And you hadn't played Indiana this year. They were really good. They did different stuff than they did last year. You're trying to watch film and hone in on them. And so you're trying to do that while you're trying to recruit Chris Henry, get that situated. It didn't happen on Wednesday. It didn't happen on Thursday. It bled all the way to Friday at noon. And it wasn't like Ryan knew Thursday night. And it's like, oh, you just make your announcement. No, they're finding out in real time. They're texting and FaceTiming like right after the show, and you saw all the clips of it. Everybody's all excited. And I'll be honest, for me, Schleich, I was even feeling good. Like, all right, we got Chris Henry, as if he was going to go play in the game now. Like, suit him up. Get him out there.
Right. Let's go.
So you felt good. You had that positivity, but that was just one more thing that you had to deal with. And then also the player Legend Bay that hasn't really been talked about as much because of Chris Henry, who's a Texas kid who's committed to Tennessee, decommitted, was going to go to Ohio State, has all of his Ohio State gear and garb out, and he's not 18 yet. His mom wouldn't sign off on it. His brother hacked into his social media. He wants to be a Buckeye. Tennessee says they're not letting him out. His mom, maybe or maybe not, it's been rumored that maybe even forged his letter of intent, Schlegs, and that's not actually his signature. And so they're trying to navigate that. And so there's all those things. And then it's poof, go to Indy, now play a game. And it wasn't like you went there and laid an egg and didn't show up. You lost 13-10. You were winning in that game 10 to, I think it was 10-3. Then they kicked the field goal to make it 10-6. Yeah. So you're up 10. You just couldn't get a stop and couldn't get that second score and get up and start really putting the hammer to people. And the defense played really well. We had the stops. It kind of, Schleich, reminded me of our Penn State game defensively. Could you have played better? Probably. Yes. Always say you could play better. But
bro, it was, I felt, Bob, I'm dead serious. I'm sitting there on the couch with Steph and Sam, and I'm like, this reminds me of 2005 Penn State. Now, granted, we only let up 170 yards in that game, but you're playing your face off and you're still down. It's hard. But they did, though. They kept rising to the occasion, Bob.
Oh, yeah. And they kept getting stops. And then we can get into the holding and everything else. But that's kind of the situation surrounding the week, that there was so much going on. And Indiana had some of that going on. They didn't have quite the recruiting drama and the coach leaving. But it's not an excuse. And Ryan's not saying this is why we lost. But it didn't feel like when people saw around the field, the players looked focused and everything. It wasn't like they were mailing it in. And they wanted to win that game, believe me, Schleich. Those guys were playing hard and playing to win. They wanted to win the Big Ten championship. So we can talk about the relevance and the importance. And do college football conferences, do you need to have these conference championship games? Are they still necessary? Are they still relevant and important? Moving forward, I don't know. We'll talk about that, with how everything's going. But when you're playing in it, when you're coaching in it, that's all that matters.
Yep.
But that is part of the story, that when you're Ryan Day and you're at practice and you're talking with Mark Pantoni, you got texts are coming in regarding other stuff. There's just a lot of things that were going on right there.
Well, I'm Bob. I'm 100% with you. And again, what does that do? That takes mental space, right? It takes time, and it's just your time as a coach. And there's instances where I'm going to start at that, right? So I'm looking at my notes, and defense, sudden change. You come out, defense, IU 8 plays, 24 yards, boom. Then you had basically a 4-play punt, a pick, right? First series of the game for the offense, pick, sudden change, defense rise up, 6 plays, 12 yards, field goal. Okay. Then OSU punts again. Okay. Take 3 minutes off. Then IU, boom, 4 plays and out. We get the ball, we go down and we score. Right? Short field. Lorenzo did that great job on the pick, right? And again, it goes back to the first pick was thrown. That was kind of questionable, Bob, of pass interference going through a guy. Why could Lorenzo go through that guy? Because he was behind the line of scrimmage. That goes back in some of the officiating things. Can't get caught up in that. Not an excuse, just reality of the situation. Then we go down, and then and you can elaborate on some of the things that I talk about, Bob, and it's from people's questions. We had a great thing out there talking about, what about that 2 minute, that sense of urgency? There's one thing I did notice in this game was I thought we were probably the better conditioned team. There was some huffing and puffing. I thought, man, we're going to start using some tempo. And I'm just talking about from the defensive line, IU's defensive line perspective of we had some gas that we could throw in the tank. And there was that 2 minute situation at the end of the second quarter because you're getting the ball back of being able to push that envelope a little bit to go down and score, right? Because it was 10-6 at that point. So how do you go down, get a field goal? Now you're up, 7 going into halftime with a chance to get the ball. Then, Go ahead.
Hold on. Going to halftime, Ryan talks about winning the middle 8.
Yep,
we're going to get to that, Schlegs. I want you to break down. So I want you to put a pin in it. We're going to come right back to it, dive back into this. But first, from our friends at FanDuel, you know how fast the NFL game days move. One big play, everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score flipped, jump on the new spread, or ride the live money line. Now, wide receivers seating up, bet the next touchdown score or total yards. Think that drive stalls in the red zone? Take a field goal live prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast, it's fun. And with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every moment. Visit FanDuel.com/big play to download the app and bet the NFL live all season long. Must be 21 and older and present in Ohio or 21 and older and present in Pennsylvania. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. More of the Bobby Carpenter Show. And we talk about the middleweight. And Schleich's breakdown coming up next.
Pass is up. He caught it. End zone. Touchdown.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, Schleichs. So they're getting ready to score before half. They throw an 11-yard pass, get a first down, and then they have the 2-minute timeout, which is new this year in college football. Come back out of it, 4-yard run. And so let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think
you're around your 40-yard line.
I want you to talk about it because I want to lay out the kind of the why that leads into the middle eight, Bob.
Okay.
So you go down, so you go score right before the second quarter. Okay. So now it's 7-3. Defense, you come out 5 plays, 54 yards. They gave it that big run. Remember that big run? Yep. So they gave the big run, missed a field goal. This dude, the kicker from IU, missed a field goal on this, right? So it's kind of both teams missed a field goal. And again, I believe that happened in the Michigan game last year. Same concept. So now you have an opportunity. That's where in my notes, I'm like, man, really needed that score because now you make it a 2-possession game and it's 10-3.
Will you release your notes, Legs? Can you publish those and just
I should just publish my random thoughts of going on there. Then you come down, and this goes back to why the holding call that was missed on Keanu Jackson was so critical. That was on 3rd down.
Yep.
That was on 3rd down. And that backs you up. And what happens, I don't know. But that drive, remember, and again, this goes back to the notes after I did the 2-minute thing. But that drive was 7 minutes, 14 plays, 61 yards, 7 minutes. Now it's 10-6. And then now you get to where we have an opportunity of winning that middle eight, knowing we get the ball back in the second half. First down catch, like you said. Then we got 3 run plays, punt. Now they got 32 seconds. Could we have pushed the envelope? And these are things that he's going to go back and analyze and assess, like, man, we got to play with some more tempo. Man, we got to go do some different things. But I go to the notes, and I want to get the – and here's the nuggets from my halftime of me. OSU, 0-4 on 3rd down.
Mm-hmm.
That was that goes back to what we said about Michigan last week, right? I believe they were 1 of 5 on 3rd down in the first half. Michigan was. Really didn't establish the run in the first half. And I'm not saying establish the run, beating your head against the wall, but just being able to be a dude mover. Okay. IU ran 35 plays. Ohio State only ran 22. It goes back to why that was such a big call. Time possession in the first half, 18-12. IU. Yards, IU, because you basically ran 13 more plays, 166-128. Okay. And we just didn't convert in the red zone. Those were missed opportunities, but that goes back to execution. Okay. So go now, Bob, take them through why, like your kind of thought of that 2-minute drill and then how that comes into going into the third quarter.
So you're up 10-6 at that point, Schleichs. You want to win the middle eight. If you can get points there, you're going up a touchdown. You get a touchdown, you're going up 13. Or going up 10. You feel really good about it.
Yes.
They get that first down, 2-minute timeout hits. The last thing you want to do, and Ryan addressed this, is give Indiana the ball back.
Right.
And so it's a fine line. Usually you wait. If they wouldn't have had that 2-minute timeout, the team would have started rolling with some tempo. They get that first down. They call it a drive starter. And what stinks is the reason they threw it there is because the clock was going to stop regardless. But you had plenty of time. Ohio State can score quickly, and they had, I think, all their timeouts, at least 2 of them. So you've got ways to stop it. But you want to get that first down so you can get running downhill so you know that you're going to eat clock. You can't just go 3 plays, 3 passes, 18 seconds when there's 2 minutes left and punt the ball back. Who probably has at least 2 timeouts, maybe all 3 at that point. Now they've got the ball, with 1:30 and they're going back at you. So instead of closing the game with the half of the lead, you could be, potentially down. Potentially your lead is cut to 1. It could have been 10-9. So that's why, Ryan, they didn't go quite as fast. And unfortunately, Bo gets 4 yards. Then you get a sack, and then you throw, or is it an incompletion, then a sack? And so then you're trying to burn some clock, and you're letting it run. I know everybody's like, we got to go. Like, this is big. Well, it is, but at the same time, you cannot be giving the ball back. I mean, that's the cardinal sin. So that's why they didn't go right there. And I know it was frustrating to people, and I get it. I always love being aggressive too, but you got to think you're leading the game right there 10-7, 10-6, and you're getting the ball back. So while you maybe didn't score there, if you can go score in your opening drive like they've done so many times, you feel better about it. I don't think Ryan anticipated 5 plays, 11 yards later in 3 minutes, and then you're punting. And the problem was Indiana took that, and you pinned them down there on the 12-yard line. And Indiana puts together a 7-play, 88-yard drive. And so then they get the lead. So it didn't work on both ends. But it doesn't mean the thinking was flawed. It's the execution in that they weren't able to get it done.
And my very next quote after that right there, Bob, was, how do you respond for the first time being down in the second half? And again, this goes back to Ryan's comment. It's kind of like a cleansing. It's like just ripping up open wounds, or things that scabbed over, or things that you thought you didn't need to necessarily address, but now you need to address them. And part of it was too, like we go back and talk about the execution, was not the best day for our offensive line coming into where you've only given up 6 sacks all season in 12 games. And you gave up 5 in this one, right? So that's cause for concern. And to your point, Bob, of would you have thought that they'd have been able to drive down 88 yards on that? No. So they executed. Right? We didn't necessarily execute on that drive, but then how do you respond? And you know what? Here's how they responded. They responded with 12 plays, 70 yards, 6.5 minutes. Yeah. Then it goes back to what? Execution. You go for it on 4th down. QB sneak. Julian puts his knee down. Okay. Could you have taken the points? Sure. If he doesn't put his knee down, you get a first down. Go ahead.
But here's the thing. They talk about, people are saying, well, just take the points. And Ryan always said, if it works, it's a great idea. If it doesn't, it wasn't. You play results. Everybody wants to be more aggressive with that. Like, they want to go back and not just tie that thing up. You want to take the lead. Go up 17-13. You feel good. Now, I know people say take the points. Your defense can handle it. And you're tied. You'll get the ball back, have another chance to score. And I go, I like that, because if you don't get it down there, you're pinning them 95 yards away from the goal line. They got to drive. You're probably – if you can force a 3 and out in your mind, you're thinking, well, worst case, we'll get the ball back around the 50. Yep. Like, and we'll be in a pretty good position. You don't think Indiana's going to be able to drive 9 plays out of that, and then you don't get the ball back until you're about at your own 20. Like, that becomes the problem.
And also, who are you leaning your hat on? You're leaning your hat when you make that decision. You're, first off, execute the play. And I've also heard in comments, right, whatever, well, that's where you put Lincoln in. Guys, he makes it. Like, just don't put your knee down, and he executes. No problem. You don't need Lincoln to be in there to run that play. Julian Say can run that play, but you're also going to lean your hat on the defense because they're the best defense in the country. So you can make that decision, right? When you're putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, everybody can be a Monday armchair quarterback. But the fact is, if I'm in that situation and you want to go up, right, like, get up there. Now it's going to be 17-13. Let's go do that, right? Or if you get a stop there, and then you have to kick the field goal if you're further away from the goal line, then maybe you kick it, right? But now it's tied. but you 4th and 1, you're confident that you can execute it. You just didn't execute. And that goes it. That's the game of football, man. It's the game of football. Go ahead, keep going.
So there's a lot of talk about the red zone stuff, Schleiks.
Yeah.
What we'll do with this, because we're right there. We drove all the way down the field. We're sitting there on 4th and 1.
So now we're in the 4th quarter, guys. It's 10-13.
So we'll keep breaking that down, and then we'll dive into some of these red zone decisions too, Schleiks, because I think that's a lot of people are pretty frothy and frothed up about the red zone decisions and what that ultimately looks like. So we'll take a quick break here after a message from our friends at Export. Parents and athletes, protect what matters most with Export mouth guards. Trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards feature scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. They feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber that they custom fit that bad boy to your own smile with 3D printed technology, which means more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby today and save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. Finish up the game and talk about some of those red zone decisions coming up next.
Pass is up. He caught it. End zone. Touchdown.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
Okay, Schleich, so you go down there, you don't get it. You're thinking you're going to pin them. Go 3 and out, get the ball back at the 50. Indiana is able to put together a pretty good drive coming back out, 44 yards. They chew 5.5 minutes, and that gets you into the 4th quarter. So now you're going into the 4th quarter trailing 13-10.
Yep.
And Indiana punts it back to you. You get the ball back at about the 20-yard line, and you go on another one of those epic drives. Another 8-minute drive, 15 plays, 81 yards. And that's the drive that puts you in position to potentially win or tie the game. No?
Yeah, I thought you were going to keep going because you were just so frothy. And that's where the calls happen. The questions happen of taking wide receivers, right? Wide receiver being singular, wide receiver being plural off the field, and going to different sets. And, there was the 3rd and 1 play action. Great play by their linebacker, man. Bennett Christian was open, somebody that they trust. I think the reasoning behind like the pushback is like, who do you trust more? And you look at the first score, there was protection, right? But Julian had a scramble. And what does Carnell do really, really well? Finds the soft spot. He was all the way, when he scored that touchdown, he was all the way on the left part of the field. That came across and then found a soft spot in the zone and caught the football. And so here you're going back, okay, it's 3rd and 1, and you're going to run a play action pass to BC, our guy, and their guy makes a play. And then people probably still commenting on it, but then you miss the field goal. And so now you've had 27 plays, 151 yards, and a crap ton of clock, and you have 0 points to come out of it. Right? And there's 2 minutes and 48 seconds left in the game, and the defense is on the field. And that's where you go through and you ask, you talk, you get upset, people get frustrated, whatever. But that's why also Ryan is a coach, and the coaching staffs, they have their plan. So right, wrong, or indifferent, you still have to execute the previous ones before that play. And it goes back to the red zone. And here's why I look at it. I look at it as,
did you like, hey, it's obviously like 3rd.
You know what I like? Here's what, and actually.
Did you like the play action on 3rd and 1, or would you rather have seen a run there?
Man, here's what I go back to. I would much rather not bump JJ in and just keep them kind of even defense just to see where the safety is going to do. And guess what, man? Like make an alert, run a slant because JJ is going to big body anybody. Like run a slant on that guy. Let's see what happens. You know, that one. The jump ball, the fade in the corner, a lot can happen. If you know that if you bring them in, because again, let's remember, every time you condense the box, right, you condense the box to be able to expand, right? But if you leave them over there, are you going to have to put two? Who else could be open up for that? But just JJ's body presence and Carnell's body presence on those things, on those routes, kind of what we saw in the game versus Michigan with a bunch of somebody going vertical and a slant underneath. That play. Didn't see that this time. Maybe there was something that they saw on the back end that I didn't, but that to me is a little bit more advantageous in that setting simply because of the fact of who those guys are. And I go back to something that nobody really talks about, and that is the last play of the game. Throw it up there. JJ comes down with the dude just comes down with everything. So I'm going to make sure at some point, like he's in there, not just on a fade, knowing that I got inside help, and I'm going to sit hard on the outside as he tries to expand this route. I'm going to put him out there and let him give his best route. Let's see what happens kind of mentality.
Do you like
go ahead.
Do you like the play action on third down, 3rd and 1 versus the run?
You know what? I can see 3rd and 1. I can see 3rd and 1. And that's kind of the beauty. Even 12 personnel, when you still keep Carnell in there and Jeremiah, they can do a lot of the same things. But it's just when you take one of them off and go 13, that eliminates some of the things that they have to be worried about.
Hold on. Before we get to the personnel thing,
yeah,
because everybody wants people to be aggressive. If you run the ball and get it, it's great. If you run the ball and don't get it, people say, well, everyone knew you were going to throw the ball.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. You're wrong on all accounts unless it works. And that's the point of doing this, which is why to me, I'm like, cool, because when every player that commented after the game literally said, we didn't execute. We need to do better. We need to execute. It's not going to happen again. And I think sometimes when you have I look at it as the team and the maturation of the team. You have a younger group that did a really, really great job of the process and texted some of them like, hey, man, time to go watch, learn, grow, embrace the process because you ain't playing again until the 31st. So how you practice over this next stretch, being able to focus on the minute details because when it's good on good, every play matters. Every play is magnified. Hitting yards matter even significantly more in a good on good situation. That's what it's going to come down to. And having some of these instances, we're talking about the schematics and X's and O's, that's on the coach. The players, it's all about execution. So sometimes it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. It can be a good thing. Believe me, you want to win, but the loss helps you open it up and expand on it. The problem is, like, people are complaining, and I like the versatility in personnel groups because I think it forces the defense to have to adjust and to look at different things. But the beauty of Ohio State with those two receivers is you have to cover the whole field.
Yes.
And you have to cover the field with multiple guys. And you're not going to be able to double them both and have any sort of a semblance of a run stop inside.
Exactly.
So it forces, or if not, one of those guys is going to have single coverage. And while like they threw the fade to JJ earlier, like I'm not a huge fan of throwing the fade. I mean, when it works, it looks great. Just go throw a slant. Most of the guys are trying to play the fade anyway. Go throw the slant, like you said, just like big body him, box him out, and go catch the ball. But when you take those guys off the field as a defensive player and as a defensive coordinator, it probably changes. Not probably, it does.
It does.
How you're going to attack, because now I don't have to worry about doubling out there. And if I double one side, what am I doing on the other? How am I going to match up to this? And so when you have two players that are that good, that garner that much attention, my dad would always say a great block can block one guy, maybe two. A great fake can get 2, 3, 4, 5. Those receivers being out there whether or not they're catching the ball, Schlegs, that's incorporated into a fake. Like, you have to respect where they're at and what they're doing. If not, you've got to be prepared to bear the consequences.
Yep.
And so that's some of the problem with that is I love going big tight ends and do all that. And they've been pretty good at it this year. And you had some play action here that I think, like you said, it was open. There was a chance to get it in, and it just didn't work. But when you take off JJ, when you take off Cardinal, it's like, man, if you're a corner, you're waiting to exhale. Sigh of relief.
Oh, that dude ain't in the game. All right, who do I got? I got that guy. Okay.
Yeah, and so, like, you have two guys that are elite level receivers, and leaving them on there stresses the defense. And bringing everybody in, like, maybe you're not using as much as your athleticism. And the offensive line has been good, but are they huge physical maulers? Like, there aren't any just massive dudes on that offensive line. There's some big guys, but I don't know that that's like the best scenario for some of these elite teams moving forward. Maybe you catch them with it and you can use it, but I don't know that that's the best methodology, Schlegs, to attack. I think that's what people are upset about. Like, why you're going to get in a car race? Why are you taking your Toyota Corolla? Why aren't you taking the Ferrari? Like, leave the Ferrari on the track.
Well, I would say it this way. And here's real context. If you're a Mike linebacker, Bob, if you're a linebacker and you set the formation strength and you look over there and you might be playing man within a zone and understanding that you got to help out in this area, and it is that. And it's, 3rd and 1, right? It wasn't even, I don't think it was even 3rd and goal. It was 3rd and 1. Okay. So 3rd and 1, live to play another down, but what am I not going to get beat on? The touchdown. So as opposed to being, 4 yards up, you might bump back to 5.5 with a little bit of expansion. That might not get you downhill on that run, right? But you know that I can react, right? Play run first, react to the pass. But as soon as those are off, like me getting the depth that I need to get, not even looking at that anymore. So now I can cheat back to like, okay, what do they do out of this personnel? And there's only a certain amount of things that you can do out of personnel. That's part of the game within the game, is eliminating what they can't do out of the personnel sets. All right, they got to run here. I can get to the run backside, but they very rarely do that. Here's the pass concept on this. Here's where I'm going to line up. Yeah, coach always tells you line up in a 30. But based off of this, I'm going to line up in a 50 because I know that's where I'm threatened the most. And that just helps. And that's what we're talking about when we say why that personnel creates so much conflict.
There you go, Schlegs. You did a great job of breaking it down.
I don't know about that. Hey, you know what? When we take this break, I am the positive guy. I am the glass is half full because there's some things I do want to mention about this game.
All right, that's good. We'll get into that and talk maybe a little bit of what's going on at Notre Dame and some of the decisions and things they're making in our headlines. Well, and you know what else? Scratch that. Before we get to that, there is a huge award that Caleb Downs was able to win, and maybe his first in light to a couple of different ones that we'll be able to toss up there. So we'll talk about all that here coming up next. But first, tell you about our friends at Backer. Brand new gear that's phenomenal fan gear. Folks, it's getting late in December. You want to get this gear. It's cold. It's time to wear it. It's premium Buckeye jackets and hats. They're founded on making the best quality fan gear for you. They've got the functionality, all of the trappings on there. bckr.com. That's bckr.com. Go check them out. Unbelievable fan gear. I wear it. It looks good. Schlegs is wearing it. He looks good in it. It's phenomenal. It's free shipping right now. If you use promo code all caps Bobby at checkout, you're going to get an extra 10% off. That's bckr.backer.com. Go check them out. We got some Caleb Downs news and a little bit of Notre Dame talk coming up next.
Customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And before we get going on some of the craziness that happened with Notre Dame and what they're doing and how they got left out, Caleb Downschlags won a national award. I think James is the last to win it, I want to say. Here, I'll have to look. But he won the Lott Impact Award. And huge for his impact off the field, about former NFL or Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott. And maybe that'll be the first in line of a number of gifts that the Buckeyes, or a number of awards the Buckeyes will be winning.
Yeah, for sure, Bob. And, Caleb has had a phenomenal year. It's awesome that he's here at Ohio State doing what he does. I mean, in this game, he had 8 tackles. I mean, that's where so kudos to Caleb, ultra consistent, high football acumen, really good leader. And I would say, how do you know they're a really good leader? Well, you're 2 defensive captains, and it's Sonny and Caleb, correct, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, so guess what? Leading tacklers in this game. And I want to go back to some positive things about this. So, 1, congratulations to Caleb. Deserves it. 8 tackles. Leading tackler of the game, Sonny Styles. Probably the most physical I've ever seen Sonny Styles in a football game. Not to mention, Caden Curry
played great.
I mean, K-Mac played great. There was outstanding play by a lot of dudes. Lorenzo on that one, and I know on the deep ball, kind of close, right? A little bit grab of the shoulder of the jersey, but Caden played his face off. Jalen came in there with some big hits. K-Mac. So IGB played really well. Kenyatta Jackson, I mean, the guy was getting held all the time. All the holding calls, he was the one that was always probably could have had 5 holding calls on him. So I say that, and I'm speaking defensively, those guys played their absolute face off. And they know that they're going to watch the film, but there's areas. There's areas, regardless, Bob. I remember when we were in there after the Penn State game. You know what? Sudden change, they got the ball in the 2, make a stand, right? There was the kickoff, man, if we could have gotten a sack in this, maybe kicked him, held him out of field goal range. They don't get it. Those are all things, because that's what you do. It's a team game. It's the best team game in the world. Regardless of how good you played in it, there's always ways that you could have been better. So that's exactly what they're looking at, because they have their own standard. And guess what? They gave up more than we produced. So therefore, it's a loss for everybody, and they're going to get better at it. But awesome that Caleb was able to receive that as a defensive back here at Ohio State.
Yeah, super pumped for him being able to get that done. Maybe he'll get some more. I know there's a bunch of guys up for a bunch of other awards as well. So we'll see how that happens and what all transpires there. I want to make sure we have enough time for our tailgate talk, Schlegs. So we're going to put a pin in this. We'll pick up some more of this conversation later. But when we come back, we'll be here where we answer your questions. So throw them in the chat here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages, because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show, Schlegs. Now we get our tailgate talk where we answer some of your questions. A lot of conversation here, Schlegs, about that right guard position. I know we'll get into this a little more later in the week. Gabe Van Sickle, how he played in the second half after Tegra. They benched him, and Tegra's had been up and down a little bit this year, and he was struggling. And with that, you know what? They made the decision to sit him down, and Gabe came in the second half, and I thought played pretty well. I'm curious to see what that looks like moving forward. They got 3 weeks to kind of make a decision and figure it out.
Yeah, guess what? IU did the exact same thing because Zen was getting, was going against Caden the entire time. And they made a switch at right tackle. So it can be done in the middle of the game, but that's part of coaching. Part of coaching is you're going to go evaluate everything and you're going to put your best 11 offense, defense, special teams, right, to go out there and produce and win. And they have till December 31st to make that happen. And guess what? I guarantee you 100% they're going to go make sure that they got the best 11.
Absolutely. So that's going to happen there. Any other questions in here, Schlegs? Anything else that you've been seeing?
Yeah, I got one. I mean, Heidel just talking about he said the whole game plan on both sides was bad. Ling do better in the sneak and saying light in the ass. I understand that, but he could have done it. And guess what? They wouldn't have done that if they hadn't worked on it. Just saying, I trust our coaches enough. And I think we also forget, you go 12-0. I'm going to trust the coaches. You lost in the Big Ten championship game to the number 2 team in the country, 13-10, good on good. And you didn't execute, right? You probably played your worst. Would you agree with that, Bob? Right? Of the season,
yeah.
You played your worst in this one. So guess what? I'm excited to see what the ceiling is. They showed us last year kind of what that was during the run. Excited to watch that transpire starting on December 31st. And I also go back to how hard, the players themselves after the game, they have a responsibility in this too. And their responsibility is to go execute. Bob, I want you to talk about everybody, just so everybody knows, Brian going down to USF at this time was already planned. That was there. And so, Bob, how hard do you think it and none of it, if there's one thing I want everybody to know about Brian Hartline, he is a Buckeye. Right,
yeah.
First,
he wants to win this.
Guys, he wants to win this. Second, it's not I'm going to USF. He still continued to call Chris Henry Jr. and he's a Buckeye. Okay? There is still relationship and dialogue, and this is the best place for you. Let's wrap up that present, put a big bow on top, and it's coming to Ohio State. Did his job in the recruiting while also taking this job. It's not his fault that the timing of all of this in the college landscape is what it is. But we talked about all the different circumstances that go around this. Yeah, the thing that I do know, Ryan Day will be all over the coaches and the players mutually coming together to make sure that we are the most prepared team with the best game plan going into whoever we play, whether it's Texas A&M or Miami in the Cotton Bowl. That's now the singular focus, and whatever that look like, feels like, act like, for him, he will make sure that it happens. And guess what? I'm going to trust what he's done on the field. That's how I'm going to take it.
Absolutely, Schlegs. That's it. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back here with your parting shots and side nuggets.
Pass is up. He caught it. End zone. Touchdown.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, Schlegs, hit us up with your parting shots.
Yeah, just, another thing about just development. Bo Jackson, I put it it's in the group chat, but Bo Jackson, fourth true freshman to pass 1,000 yards rushing in a single season. And it goes back to Coach Locke. It goes back into development. It goes back to offensive line play. It goes back to working the game. And was he ready-made? No. There was growth. There's camp. There's pass pro. There's timing. There's all these different things. But you know what? Hats off to the young man. Hats off to the power of the unit. There's one thing that you hear that you don't hear at Ohio State. It's the backdoor chatter. It's the backbiting, the talking behind the doors. Like these dudes are all pushing each other and cheering for. You can compete within a room, but also cheer for your teammate. And Bo has grown in this season, and I'm excited to see what he does on the 31st. But good for him, 4th true freshman, over 1,000.
Love it, Schleiks. That's it for today's show. Stay locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.